Hi folks, sorry I had to start recording again because I really haven't gotten the hang of putting this on pause and picking it up again. Anyway, that's Mama, the white one, and her two babies, who are not really grown. They're as big as she is, but they're not really grown. See, they're all grizzles. I love grizzles, they're pretty. Anyway, you see how big those babies are? If these were being raised for meat, they'd be pretty much ready to eat soon. Not that I'm ever going to eat any of these babies. But Mama is fussing around with the nest because she's raising more eggs. And that brings us to something that a lot of newbies underestimate. You see, there's two parents. They pair bond. They don't just go fooling around with everybody else. But what that means is that those two birds produce two babies. By the way, pigeons lay 2 eggs, and usually you hatch 2 of them. So 2 parents produce 2 offspring. And in very short order, they're mostly grown, still being fed a bit, and they're laying more eggs. What that means is that one breeding pair automatically becomes 4 pigeons to feed, very quickly becomes 6 pigeons to feed, very quickly can become 8 pigeons to feed. And around the time that the 3rd set of eggs is growing up, those first babies are potentially old enough to breed. They usually won't, but right now in my other side of my loft, in the other section, I have an egg with an older cock bird. One of the eggs failed, and one of the eggs hatched, and I couldn't figure out who the mama was. I finally managed to catch Mama on the nest, because they take turns. I kept catching the cock bird, I kept catching Daddy. So basically I finally caught Mama, and I found out that Mama was one of the early hatchlings from this year. Which means that these guys can reproduce pretty fast. Now, if you're an experienced pigeon keeper, you know all this stuff. But for Pigeon 101, very, very new. By the way, I'm going to ask you, please like and subscribe if I'm being helpful or even interesting. It does help me get to other people. What you need to be aware of is that the amount of food, cleaning, vaccines, bedding, whatever else that you are going to need is going to rapidly multiply. Now, right now, I shouldn't have this many birds in here because they were supposed to have been sent to one-loft races. And I also was supposed to give some of my older breeding birds to some new pigeon fanciers. But I had a financial setback, so I couldn't afford the upfront fees on some of them and the mailing fees. And the person who was going to be getting them, who will still be getting them, had a delay on getting their loft set up. I don't know anything about that. The end result of this is that I currently have way too many pigeons in my loft. And I really noticed that this was becoming ridiculous at how much food they were going through. Because a bag of pigeon food, especially since I add in barley, I add in pellets, I add in all this other stuff, should last me a month. It's not lasting me a month because I have easily twice that many pigeons. So you need to be very, very aware of how fast these guys can reproduce. Now, this was, in fact, the reason that pigeons were one of the earliest birds domesticated for meat. Yes, there's a fuss. They don't know what I'm doing in here while they're eating. I normally leave them alone. However, I'm going to get going, but I wanted to point this out because it is something that beginners can very easily get overwhelmed with the fact that you are set up for, oh, I've got 3 breeding pairs. I've got room for, say, 3 breeding pairs. You know how fast that's going to end up being? Like, instead of 6 birds, that's going to end up being like 24 birds? And how fast that can end up being like, 50 birds? Amazingly quickly. So, I'm going to turn over here and look at these guys because they're cute. They're so cute. Look at how big those guys are. Yes, those are the same guys I was showing pictures of before. Feeding the babies. Pigeon parents are awesome. They stuff those babies full of food and they grow really, really fast. And this is part of the problem. But it's also why they're both good livestock to have, and why they're relatively easy to keep. They do all the work themselves. And I will get going, especially since I am distressing my birds a little bit. But I wanted to let you know about the fact that how fast pigeons breed and can get out of hand. Have a very good day. Enjoy the weather. Bye.